Welcome, video heads, to another episode of Dueling Decades. First off, representing December of 1992.
I'm Bo Beecraft, fighting alongside Mike Ranger.
Hello.
Jason Priestley's cock, I believe, is what we're going with this week.
And my partner, who I will be representing December of 1983 with.
That's right. I'm Rick Mancrush, and I will be partnering up with Mark James, and we are the Mama Loops.
Coming at you on this Christmas special edition, December Dueling Decades. Judge John Cross. Hi, everybody. Hello.
The highest scoring game in the history of the National Basketball Association.
Paramount's Big Gamble with Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Britain's Prince Charles and Princess Diana released a statement announcing their separation.
Amy Fisher was sentenced to 5 to 15 years in prison.
We go with December 83.
Slayer released their debut album,
Balls to the Wall.
The debut solo album by Dr. Dre, titled The Chronic.
Nirvana's Incesticide is released.
It's going to December 92.
There's Mighty Max.
With Crystal Pepsi.
The Cabbage Patch Dolls.
a reissuing G.I. Joe.
Love to give the 90s another one, but I'm giving it to December 83 and the Mama Loops.
Don't fuck it.
Dueling Decades.
All right, Man Crush, we got two categories left.
So let's go with television first. They're both 2-point rounds. I'll throw it to you for the first television pick of December 1983.
All right, and it started off early in the month on December 2nd of 1983, where the worlds of television and music collided as Michael Jackson's music video for Thriller is broadcast for the very first time. Thriller is still the most often repeated and famous music video of all time. And for a music video that came out in 1983, it still has over 500 million views on YouTube. Directed by John Landis, who also directed The Blues Brothers and American Werewolf in London, Thriller's contributions to pop culture have had lasting impact, such as the Zombie Dance and Michael Jackson's famous Red Jacket. The Library of Congress described it as the most famous music video of all time, and in 2009, it became the first music video inducted into the National Film Registry as a culturally significant or historically, aesthetically significant work of art. Michael Jackson's Thriller video cemented MTV's position as a major cultural force. It helped disassemble racial barriers for Black artists. It revolutionized video music production, popularized the making of documentaries, and drove rental sales for VHS tapes for the entire 80s. The music video director Brian Grant credited Thriller as the turning point when the music videos became a popular industry. And that all started the 2nd of the month, December 1983.
That was the first one was like 14 minutes long or some shit, right?
Yeah, it's 14 minutes long. That's how they originally got away with it, because MTV didn't want to put up the money for a third music video. They've always paid for only 2 per album, and the record company didn't want to do it. So they got the funding half from Showtime and half from MTV. They made a making of documentary about the 14-minute video, and that's how they got the funding for it, because it was a short film and not a movie. Not a music video, rather.
They released the making of and the music video on VHS, as you said it, like
Right.
shot to the #1 list on lots and lots of VHS, both rental and purchase lists at the time. It was huge.
Yeah,
Insane.
it was on. They originally debuted on MTV and on Showtime for the making of.
However, it does indirectly lead to the music video for "Never Gonna Give You Up" by Rick Astley. So it's not all plain sailing. But
Great, so it gets extra points for that. Excellent.
no, less points.
All right, so this one is a first for Dueling Decades. On December 31st, 1983, during the last commercial break before 1984, it's the famous dystopian Apple 1984 commercial, which was directed by Ridley Scott. It was shown in select television markets. And although this commercial was made to appear during the Super Bowl in 1984, in January, of course, the creators wanted considered for awards in 1983. So the only way to do this was to play it in 1983. So they waited to that last commercial break before the end of the year, and they played the commercial. The commercial, which just about everybody has seen this at some point in their lives. But the amazing thing is it's only been played live twice. And this was the first time. Second time, of course, was during Super Bowl 18. Advertising Age has named it the 1980s commercial of the decade. And it's also seen as the most influential commercials of all time and advertising of all time. A good story from Fred Goldberg wrote a book a couple years ago. He was a former ad executive for Apple. And he said that the 1984 ad, it was sent to a market research testing company. And they said that it would be the least effective commercial that the firm had ever made up to that point. So if you look at ASI, which is the marketing research, it's based on a 43-point scale system that predicts how effective a commercial would be, at persuading people to buy the product. Well, this commercial was rated at a 5 out of 43. Wow. And just to give that some perspective, the average score that they would test was a 29. So by all intents and purposes, they should not have run this video. Yeah. There were board members for Apple that were furious that they were even doing this, that they had spent $1 million on this. They thought it was a waste of money not to play it. But they told them they couldn't sell the spot. So they ran the ad. And within 2 minutes of the ad ending, they sold like $3 million worth of Macintoshes. And the product wasn't even out yet. Just think about that. Like, that's absurd how many they sold. And then within 3 months, they sold $155 million worth of Macintoshes. Now, this was a $2,400 computer that was released in 1984. That's over $5,000 in 2018. So picture paying that in a computer, and how many people are buying this based on an ad that was made with this chick that comes in and throws a hammer at a screen, which is like Big Brother. It didn't even show the product in the ad. But like the miraculous thing about this entire ad, after it was played again the next day on countless news outlets. So they got millions and millions of dollars of free advertising because it was getting replayed over and over and over and again. And that actually started all these big ads during the Super Bowl as well, because once they saw them do it, it started to become a thing that you were going to have these giant ads during the Super Bowl. Because prior to that, I think the only one that did it was Master Lock, and that was like in the 70s. So it was a huge thing. And they actually outsold, which they were trying to do anyway, the IBM PC Junior at the time. They sold more units than that did over the course of 1984. So it was a huge, huge thing, monumental in terms of advertising. First time we ever talk about a television commercial, but this one should be talked about.
But no indication in that commercial whether Apple thought you should fuck it or not. There was no indication.
You could take that one pretty loosely. It was like a
quite literally
chicken, like a white tight costume. Do you remember this commercial? And then she spins the camera 3 times and throws it at the television and explodes it.
Yeah, it was loosely based on the film Metropolis, really showing that dystopian future. And I think in the 80s, they thought that would connect with the youth market at the time, and it did.
I think part of the point of the video, it was that she was breaking down IBM, which was the big board. Even though they've denied this tooth and nail for years, you could take it like that IBM was controlling the market. They were this dystopian society, and she was breaking down the wall by throwing the hammer, and they were going to take over. So that's kind of what happened.
It is kind of what happened. All right. Over to you guys. What do you got?
All right. Are you fellas ready to get dangerous? Because on December 12th, 1992, this staple of the Disney afternoon lineup called Darkwing Duck ended its run after 91 episodes. The show's premise consisted of a duck superhero named Darkwing Duck and his sidekick, Launchpad McCloud, and was the first of the Disney afternoon lineup to be more action than adventure. The show's popularity led to toys, comics, and video games. Bo and I are quite dangerous ourselves because 90s kids have guts.
And Jason Priestley's cock, apparently.
All on our face.
Plenty of that.
I
had a tough call here for television because we had a great show ending, but the debut of one that's just how it became canceled is just beyond me. So I'm going to go with that one. December 1st, 1992 marked the debut of the Jackie Thomas Show.
Oh, really? Nice.
Created by Tom Arnold, Roseanne Barr, who was then Tom's wife. The show starred old Tom Arnold, Martin Mull, Paul Feig, Michael Boatman, and some other folks. One season, 18 episodes. It was essentially a shittier network version of the Larry Sanders Show with the whole show within a show premise.
Oh, stop selling it up so much.
Oh, man, this is just a work of classic American television if I have ever seen one. And how it became canceled is just, it's beyond me. I don't know why they haven't released it on 4K, ultra high def Blu-ray. If I could get the show all season on digital, I would be there in a heartbeat.
Bo, I just got one question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Who the fuck is Jackie Thomas?
Well, Jackie Thomas is he's a meat worker / stand-up comedian, and he's starting a show.
He's got a podcast.
Would have been way more interesting.
He's writing a book, and he's also super into yoga.
Wow. Nice. Sorry, I missed that one.
Yeah, seriously. I must have been sick that month. Oh, Lord.
The 90s, a decade so shitty that someone went, Tom Arnold, sign me up.
Holy shit. All right, to John Cross for the ruling.
I mean, this is just insulting to ask me to rule on this one. I mean, all Mark had to say was Thriller, and we should have just ended it there. It just kind of all ends there. It is a monumental event on both TV, video, and across the board. It is the perfect combination of movie making, 80s excess, Michael Jackson at the peak of his musical powers. It's phenomenal. Big fan of that. As a horror geek, it's just like, it was just one of those things, like when you found out that, this kid from Motown, and then like is becoming like the king of pop and everything. And then suddenly he's also into, as John Landis tells it, he went up and he was like, "Hi, John, could you make me a werewolf?" And John was like, "Sure. Okay, Michael." But like, he had all this like weird groovy stuff. And I love that. It's like when I found out that Vin Diesel was into Dungeons and Dragons, you're like, yeah, they have a soul, it's great. So it's not like that at all. It's not like that at all, but it's sort of similar. Anyway, and as for the dystopian Apple video, I mean, we're all living in that future now.
Yeah.
We're all looking for a tightly white-clad woman to come throw a fucking hammer at the whole lot of it. Sadly, people don't vote for women, so that's not going to happen. But still a monumental thing, as I was just told by Man Crush, because apparently it happened. Darkwing Duck and Jackie Thomas. I'm sorry, guys. You've got to bring more than that.
Bullshit.
If you're gonna off-road Thriller and to win a round.
You're telling me Tom Arnold is below Michael Jackson?
I mean, Darkwing Duck was great. Darkwing Duck was great. It was an important cartoon. It touched a lot of children, but so did Thriller. So did Michael Jackson.
Wait, Darkwing Duck touched a lot of children. Why was it ever on television? What is it, like the Catholic priest of Disney nighttime shows? Anyway, and as for Tom Arnold, I mean, how anyone was interested in Roseanne is a fucking anathema to me. The fact that they were also interested in her pig farming husband. Anyway, it's what it is. I'm sorry, guys. 83. Take it away. And
Shocker.
Dueling Decades.
Arnold.
And I'm Tom Arnold.
And we're on Family Feud, the start of Family Feud.
All right, honey.